Hi, everybody, and welcome to Weekend GamePlan with Marcus Hersh. I'm Dan Illman, along with DRF handicapper extraordinaire Marcus Hersh. We have three major stakes races to discuss this weekend. It is Arlington Million Weekend. We have two races on the Arlington undercard that Marcus is very interested in, and we'll begin by taking a look at the field for the prestigious Beverly D. A mile and 3/16 on the turf for fillies and mares. Marcus, the big name in this race is Sister Charlie for Chad Brown, winner of last year's Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf, came back firing in the Diana in her first start this year, but you're somewhat dubious of playing her at a short price in the Beverly D.
Yeah, I'm a little bit dubious, I guess. I mean, having had a day and a half to let this marinate and have some people tell me that she's like the standout of all time, maybe I feel a little less motivated. But I mean, so she's listed at 8-5 on this line. Magic Wand is probably going to run in the million, so take her money out of there. I mean, Sister Charlie, I'd say, is a 3-5 shot in this race in all likelihood, if I had to guess. There's just not a lot of depth to it. It's definitely not the most compelling Beverly D. And Sister Charlie is an absolutely fabulous horse. I mean, I loved her Diana, but I think that's part of the reason why I'm willing to take a little bit of a shot, because there's one horse in the race that might be capable of taking her down under the right circumstances. That's the rail horse Fleeting for Aidan O'Brien. It's a pretty well-known factoid that no 3-year-old filly has ever won the Beverly D, which is of an older horses. But, I mean, I don't put too much stock in that. You know, the right horse hasn't come along yet. And like I said, after Sister Charlie, there's not, to me, a lot of substance in this race. This is the second best horse to me in the race. And, you know, having seen her a little bit and then gone back and watched her replays, she really does look progressive. I think that she got beat by the same horse, Starcatcher, in the last two races. And we're going to be looking at a race in Ireland where this horse just totally got the jump on her. She was a little bit short of room. And she's finishing strongly in all these mile-and-a-half races. In the Oaks at Epsom, she was definitely short of room at a very key juncture when she was really gearing up for her biggest run, and finished the best of all in that race too. I mean, I don't know that the 3-year-old fillies overseas are like the be-all, end-all, but I think that Starcatcher's pretty good. I think that Fleeting's pretty good. She gets Lasix for the first time. Thais is a pacemaker for Sister Charlie, but that's going to help Fleeting as well. I just think with a 6-pound spread and a gap in the odds, I'm going to take a little bit of shot and try to get this odds-on favorite out. An odds-on favorite that I have nothing but the utmost respect for.
The great Ryan Moore picks up the mount on Fleeting, and she should be running late. Third, of course, in the Epsom Oaks. We just saw that excellent second-place finish in the Irish Oaks. We complete the Arlington card on Saturday with the Grade 3 Pucker Up Stakes. Let's take a look at this full field of 3-year-old fillies going 1 1/8 on the turf. And, of course, Chad Brown is going to be represented with the 11 Cafe Americano, who won her first two starts in perfectly fine fashion. Chad might have thrown her to the wolves a little bit in the Belmont Oaks last time out. It was a very tough spot, but I know Chad likes distance for this filly. It's a kind of a tough outside post, and I don't really see the edge where I want to take a short price.
That's exactly how I felt, Dan. And her presence is one of the reasons why I thought this might be playable, because you know she's going to take money for Irad Ortiz. Chad Brown coming out of Grade 1 race. I don't see a ton in here. Winter Sunset, I think, still has a little bit of upside to her. She was a horse I was higher on a couple months ago because she ran a really good race second out, but then the horse she beat, Elsa, didn't really race on, didn't show much afterwards. So I wonder how valuable that victory was in the end. But I do think Winter Sunset has some upside. However, the horse that I'm going to play here, if she's a fair price and 5-1 line, I don't think she'll be that high, but I still think she could be fair in my mind. That'd be Art of Almost, number 10. Very interesting horse to me. You just don't see in North America 3-year-olds taking on their elders that often this time of year because they don't have to, but she comes out of the Grade 2 Dan Smartly at Woodbine, won by Holy Helena, Starship Jubilee. Holy Helena, I mean, she's a lower end Grade 1 sort of turf mare on her best day. This filly, granted, it's important to note she did get 11 pounds because she's a 3-year-old against older, and that's meaningful to me. But even considering that, I still thought she performed really strongly in that race. She had a very fine finishing time. She was running right with those horses. And if you go through her form for the entire year, I see a lot of positive evolution for her. She's a horse that's pulled too hard early in some races, just been overeager. I've really seen her in watching the replays from this year settle down kind of race to race, which I think is key for her. I think mostly she's very competitive and is a good feeling horse. She doesn't strike me as a horse that's fearful and trying to run away from the race. I just think she wants to get it going too soon. But she does have a nice long sustained run. I think a 1.8 miles suits her well. I think she's gonna like what we're gonna have really firm, fast going here. I should mention on Saturday.
Oh, I agree. I agree with
Yeah,
you completely, Marcus, about
yeah,
this horse. I mean, again, the form line speaks for itself from the last race, but she had to prove that she could step on turf in that race because her career victories had come on synthetic, and she proved that she is
correct.
a legitimate turf horse. And we all know Roger Attfield's a sensational horseman.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge jockeys person, but I did think that Alan Garcia seemed to get along with her better than some of the other riders, and I don't mind him getting back aboard. And he's traveling to ride this horse too, which may or may not mean anything. But I do think Danch is going to get a little more play than the line suggests. But I also think with the Chad Brown with the full field, she could be. I mean, she was what I would consider probably a playable price. Hopefully,
I think she'll be the third choice in the race. Winter
sounds
Sunset's
about right.
likely to take some money as well off that
Yep,
solid-looking line
yep.
in the Regret. Let's move to Colonial Downs. It's opening weekend to Colonial Downs. It's nice that racing is back in Virginia. Such a rich history in the state for all thoroughbred racing. And let's take a look at the field
Sure.
for the Nellie Mae Cox. Race number 9, $100,000 is the pot. We're going a mile on the inner turf, and you're looking for a horse stretching out for the first time, and that's the number
Right.
9, Finn Bar. And this horse has taken a step forward with each and every start. Let's discuss her progression.
Oh yeah, I mean, as a handicapper on the Maryland circuit, it's a horse I'm familiar with. I think her first race was too short. I really like. I mean, obviously, it wasn't like a Grade 1 performance, but her maiden win was very nice. I thought she progressed significantly and finished very well in that race. And she showed her owner, breeder, trainer Susan Cooney enough that she ran her in an open $100,000 turf sprint. And I mean, that is a way better performance than you might think from just the raw running line. The Laurel turf course can get extremely speed biased, and that day in particular was very, very favorable to speed. Karama, a horse I liked in that race, broke from the rail, went straight to the front, opened a big lead, never came close to coming back. It's one of those days where not only does the front runner do well, but there's not a lot of positional change from the quarter pole home. The one horse that I thought was making up decent ground was this horse. And this may be meaningless, Dan, but in doing some research, the Susan Cooney, also had the Dam Embar, who's a young broodmare. This is her first foal to race. She has exactly the same pattern as this horse. She ran in 3 sprints. Something happened in her first race. It's a throw out. But she ran in 3 turf sprints, stretched out to a mile in a Virginia bred stakes race at Colonial and won. I mean, the connections are doing exactly the same pattern with her daughter, who I think is talented enough to beat this group. I think she's 7-2 on the line. That seems plausible to me. I think she could beat that price, and I would be okay with that.
Distance should be okay for her as she stretches out, as you mentioned. And I like this fact that I think she can be adaptable to any kind of pace situation. Sheldon Russell can play the break from this outside post. I think we'll see her a lot closer to the pace this time around, and I do expect her to kick in the lane. That's Finn Bar, the number 9 in the Nellie Mae Cox Stakes. There you have it. 3 weekend game plan plays for Saturday. Best of luck.